Angie.
I'm Johnny Coffin, playing the role of Johnny Coffin.
The famous Johnny.
Yeah, infamous.
So my first question. When you were a child, what was your dream job?
My dream job, I watched Bewitched in the 60s, and I always thought that Darren Stevens had the coolest job. He was just a marketing guy. His idea was just to go to the office every day and go, I got a marketing campaign that will be great for you. And as a little kid, I thought that was like the ideal job. And I guess having the witch for a wife kind of was a bonus. So
That explains your style.
yeah, that was very young, but I thought that was a dream job. Television, I guess, shaped a lot of my what you see here.
Yeah.
You know, film, television, movies.
So you always wanted to be something big, basically.
Yeah, big. People come in here a lot and they go, wow, did you ever picture it this big? And I always go, I pictured bigger all the time, so
That's
it was always kind of a
good.
bigger vision for me. My first customer was myself. I made myself a Coffin case out of necessity. I had one of my guitar cases. I broke the handle off, and so I was carrying it under my arm to a couple of shows. I'm like, I got to get a new case. So I took my guitar, went in the garage, put it on a piece of wood, and started drawing lines around it, and started angling the lines in. The body was wider and the guitar neck is narrower. So the coffin shape started working really good when I was drawing lines. I said, that might be cool. So I made myself one and started gigging around with it, and had a lot of people ask me, where'd you get that? Where'd you get that?
That's
And
good.
so the name Johnny Coffin and this whole thing. So my first customer, after I got a bunch of people asking me, I said, well, I wonder if I go in and make a really nice one, a high-end case, and take some of my silver work and woodworking skills, and make something really unique, and take it around for a showpiece. So I did that, and my first meeting was with Slash, and I walked into his rehearsal with the case. He stopped the rehearsal and said, Johnny, what do you have there? And he took about half hour out of his rehearsal to sit there and tell me what he wanted all over the case. So I took some notes and sketched some stuff out, and he was pretty much my first customer. So I walked into a rehearsal with Billy Idol and Steve Stevens, and Billy's like, I want one. So I basically went home with 2 sales the first day thinking I was going to be a millionaire, and then I realized it's a lot of work. In the custom business, they give you ideas of what they want, and then you sketch the ideas down, and then you carve a piece of jewelry, like your ring. It would start as wax, and you carve it out, and then like a corner piece or a handle, and then you take it back to the customer and say, is this approved? Can you approve this? Is this what you were saying? So a lot of times those guys were on tour, or you can't get to them, so another month goes by, and you're like, so it was like a 6-month process to actually complete Slash's case from beginning to end.
Did you lose hope at any moment?
No, it's a little discouraging when you aren't dealing with, at some point they just pass you on to their accountants and their managers, so all of a sudden it's kind of like, okay, I was dealing with you directly, now I'm dealing with these people who get paid, and then it comes back around to like, you're delivering the case to him, and Slash was actually in tears when I gave it to him. He was like, I never thought it was going to be this great. I did this big snake emblem on it in silver, and so that was it's rewarding when you actually meet the artist again and give him
And they
the
embrace
finish.
you for it.
Yeah, and they become fans of what you do as an artist, and so that's how it started. Now, I learned from local guys that woodworking out of necessity, like doing some carpentry work when I was younger, cabinetry and finish work, just to make money while I was playing music. So I learned woodworking, but the silver was I had to learn from guys that actually really did it. So there was a local guy, Gabor, that my roommate was working with at that time, and he'd come over and he was doing like wallet chains and necklaces and all this cool jewelry, and that's how it started. I was watching him like carve his links and the chain links out of that, and cast rings and stuff, and so I was like, wow, what if you make them bigger or turn them into like handles for cases, or they'd look great as 18th century French antique corner pieces.
What inspires you to do all of this?
Creativity, it's pretty much my number one priority. As an artist, it's like the creative process is kind of the most important. As a business person, the dollar is most important. For a creative person, the projects you do and the art of it's the the most important, if that was what the question was.
No, that's exactly what the question was. Because I see that it's not just the clothes, I see everything very artistic.
Yeah, we take that shape, that six-cornered thing, and whatever I can brand that visually with, like our models with the cases. We spent years just really working on, not busy backgrounds, just shooting them on white, so it's the girl and the product, and just getting people familiar with those two things together, or the artist, with the case, the guitar case. My first model was a girl named Avery, and this was probably in around 96, 97, I would think. And before that, I was just shooting like beautiful shots of my custom work, the cases, the lacquer finishes, the wood grain, close-ups of the silver work. And I didn't really have a marketing campaign. It was just high-end cases only. And so I was just going for beauty shots, like, just glossy, nice shots of the silver work. But I knew I had to get into a campaign. So once we started the consumer line, which is more of the Guitar Center versions of the high-end stuff that we sell to the consumers, the $100 case instead of the $2,500 case, we had to come up with a campaign. So I was at a horror convention at Fangoria, actually, this convention, and there was a comic book character there. Her name was Avery, and she had this little latex dress on with her little skinny waist, and she was sitting there, and we struck up a conversation. I was telling her about the company, and she's like, wow, that sounds really interesting. And I asked her, how long are you going to be in town? I love your character. Would you want to shoot with some of the cases? And she said, yeah, I'll be in town for a couple of days. So we set up this little this photo session over at my friend Kevin Estrada. He was working for Roadrunner Records, and we set up right in the office, went down to LA when they had the office here, and she came up, and we had the white paper out, had a couple of cases there, and she said, excuse me, I'm going to go to the bathroom and put my stuff on, and went down the hall, and then she came, it's skin tight, so she came waddling in with, her little tiny steps, and, okay, what do you want? And then she said, well, you have to put, this is latex, so you have to get it all shiny, so there's this like
baby
lube,
oil,
so it's so she's putting it on, but she's like, hey, can you lube this up? And so I'm lubing part of the dress up, and I'm looking at Kevin going, hey, you should be getting this on photo, So we got her all kind of shiny and glossy, put her in with the case, and she kind of laid almost like a fish or mermaid pose with it, and the case was next to her. And I looked through the camera, and I was like, a light bulb went on. I'm like, that's the campaign.
Perfect.
Yeah, that is the campaign. It's the girl in the coffin. It just all kind of came together. Like, it's this eternal beauty, eternal life, and this whole like concept.
What better way to advertise it?
So Avery was the first, I must say, but Cassia, it was the favorite. So she's been my ongoing model. That is her when she was down here today. And her whole story is kind of funny too. She came in kind of as a casting call. We get a lot of people asking us, hey, I want to be a Coffin girl. So we do these casting calls, like, okay, we're just going to get everyone down here.
Is it kind of like an audition? Or
Yeah, basically it's kind of word of mouth. At that point it was just word of mouth. People telling me, hey, talk to Johnny, give him a call. So we set up a casting call with a lot of girls that came down, and we had kind of a mugshot thing. So I had like a mugshot background, and then this thing that said the Coffin Case Killers, and I'd have them write their name in, and they'd take a shot, mugshot with it. And Cassia came down for it because her friend, this Russian model, had told her about this. And she came down in this little pink sweater and these little white capris, and and her hair pulled back in a ponytail, and didn't look rock and roll at all. And she's like, I didn't know what this was. I walked into this thing. I'm like, it's fine, and she had a great personality. And so then, second stage, we just take them back and kind of test shoot them, put a case up, and snap off a couple to see how comfortable they are with, the modeling skills with an object like that, a product. So she's like, yeah, stand by this and shoot a couple shots. I'm like, yeah. So I shot like 3 shots of her, and just boom, boom, boom. She like hit these 3 great poses with it. I'm like, you know what? You're awesome.